I'm Cara. This is BodyTarot. Welcome back. Sorry, this is a day late. I realized that I wanted to do separate videos and reads for TikTok and YouTube because I was doing them on YouTube on Monday and then uploading them across platforms. And that didn't really feel right anymore, so I did reads on those platforms. But I wanted to deep dive with y'all here because this platform just lends itself better to that. So we're doing a deep dive for the rest of this week. Sometimes I feel like the energy levels that I'm experiencing, I'm seeing mirrored in a lot of other people. That what I'm experiencing is very much a part of what the collective is experiencing. And sometimes I'm like, no, girl, that's just you. And this weekend was like just this, it felt like this huge surge of energy, of spring energy, and it felt great. And now I'm a little tired. But I also just did heavy rack pulls, so that might have something to do with it. But I wanted to dive into this week's Body Tarot. I just did a big, hard pile shuffle. Because this deck saw a lot of action this past weekend. I read at an event, and it was really interesting. I've never read for that many people in one small container of time. And I used two different decks. And what was really interesting was the repeat cards. Like the specificity and frequency of repeating cards was really interesting and beyond improbable. Like, it was very cool. But it really spoke to how, it just reminded me of how we really all are changing collectively, on the literal physical seasonal level. As spring springs, your body's reacting without you having to do anything. There are very subtle shifts as your body interacts with the weather and all the changing nuances within that. The daylight change, longer days. There's all these little things, these little environmental things that are happening on their own that stack up, that are going to show up in our physical experience, which is then going to inform our emotional and our mental experiences as well. So I want to go into this week's with a real sense of like seeing how we can really be aware of the immensity of the changes that we're going through right now, and how, like, this reading is always about this, but how can we really care for our body and our physical life in this transitional time? What is going on? What do we need to really pay attention to? I think I don't expect to see two different. Let's dive in. All right, I'm cutting this deck right now. Enough preamble. Let's go. Movement, rest, nourishment. We're going to start with that. Okay. Wow, okay. All right. So we got movement and body, 8 of Swords. We got rest, the Devil. And then in nourishment, we have 4 of Swords. So let's go ahead and dive into 8 of Swords. 8 of Swords in movement, showing up in body. I think this came up last week too. I'm pretty sure it did. So this speaks to a sense of restriction and of not feeling like one can move forward because they are imprisoned and have not been able to get beyond mind and their current mental perspective of a situation. So I'm going to go ahead and pull another card for this. Nice. 4 of Wands. So if in your current physical situation, and I don't just mean your physical movement, like your routine, although that's certainly part of it, but if you're encountering feelings of stagnation and feelings of your immediate sensory feedback contributing to you mentally feeling trapped and feeling like you don't have options beyond what you can see and imagine. This can show up. This shows up for me as anxiety sort of held in the body, head, neck, a little bit of restlessness, but also tiredness. I've certainly been feeling a little bit of that, where it's like I feel this energizing spring momentum. I'm really raring to go on certain things, but there's still this feeling of like I can't quite get beyond like what I think is right in front of me, and I think is right in front of me is not necessarily accurate, because it's a reflection of like where I was several weeks and months ago. It's like there's a lag time behind behind like your experience of something and then like what's actually going on. For example, like over the long term, like our perspective on our own identity. It's like it takes time for us to integrate new experiences into our identity. New accomplishments that you may have done recently, like sometimes it can take time for that to actually like embody, like, yeah, I'm the person that did that. At least for me, that can certainly be the case. So 8 of Swords, a sense of restriction created by the mind in this particular case. So when we're looking at how to physically like move through this, 4 of Wands is coming up and saying there is freedom awaiting you in the creative and in things that inspire you and in celebrating what you are doing, in celebrating who you are, in celebrating your activities, in celebrating your victories. This is about generating a state of inner being, of feeling that can burn up this like mental prison that we might be in. This is about learning how to be really excited and happy and grateful about where you are right now, because the ability to do that is what opens up and invites more of that victorious energy, sensibility, sense of being. When we engage, like if we think of victory victory is not just an outcome. Victory is a state that we can inhabit. And when you're inhabiting a state of victory, it feels something like confidence. And like you win when you can inhabit victory before you actually win. And so if you can start to learn to look at your activities, at your movements and how you take care of yourself, your workouts, the time that you spend with yourself for yourself as inherently victorious, you can create positive momentum that will help break this up, burn down the mind prison, if you will. So I'm going to look at this as like really like celebrating the most basic, humblest little things. Like you worked out today? Fuck yeah. That's right. That's amazing. That's incredible. And the happier and the more juiced you can choose to look and choose to feel about the good things in your life, the bigger you're going to build that fire. The bigger you're going to build that fire. So, why the hell is the devil here? What's going on? Okay. This is from the Way Home Tarot by Cara and Autumn Whitehurst, 2 brilliant tarotists and artists and humans. So I love this devil because they're these gorgeous show ponies at a circus, but like you can kind of see the whites of their eyes and they don't look super happy about being there. So there's this sense of like your downtime, your rest time, if you've got shit going on, your downtime is where that's going to rear its head, right? a kind of like cliched example would be like, you know, when I was not that long ago, but like in my 20s, and if I'm getting really fucked up and drunk in all my downtime, right? Like there's something going on where my unconscious, my psyche, my something is going on that is sort of destructive, and it is acting out in my leisure time, because I don't have like proper mechanisms for engaging with it, perhaps. So I think when this comes up in like downtime and rest, this is potentially like, let me pull another card first. Let's see what the pair here is. Yeah. Six of Swords. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, so interesting combo. The Devil and Six of Swords. This is like, pardon me, checking the time. Okay, this is like, if you can lovingly create room for whatever your devil is, you can, there's a lot of fertilizer in there that is creative, that is nurturing, that is even restorative. So like, I think another obvious example perhaps, but one that rings true for me certainly, is your sex life and how you are nurturing or totally ignoring your sexual needs, or perhaps just your physical needs in general. Need for touch, need for companionship, need for pleasure. We often associate the devil with sort of like unspoken, unacknowledged pleasure, kind of like, and that need gets so strong when it's ignored that it starts to like pull at you. So, what if we were to look at our downtime as this part of our day, or a day a week, or, you know, I try to think of my downtime as like after 7 p.m. is when I try to really unplug, unwind, be with myself. That time is for self-acknowledgement, self-engagement in a deep way. Again, whether that's physical, mental, emotional, creative, social, there's many, many dimensions to how we spend that time. But if, like, maybe one of the reasons that we're feeling somewhat stagnant in the day-to-day in movement is because something in our that we should be addressing in our nurture, downtime, rest time is not fully getting her due, her air. She's like, hello, can you pay attention to me? So on a practical level, I would say this speaks to giving yourself some extra time, maybe even just like 1 or 2 nights a week, like pick them out in advance, date night with yourself or your partner. Again, this does not have to be about sex or eros or lust, but it can be about creating a space to explore and play and to get weird and silly and like to act out a little bit in a way that starts to acknowledge and free our little devil who just needs a little attention. The devil doesn't have to be like a cataclysmic, catastrophic situation. Like we all have, it's, you know, whether you want to think of it as the unconscious or your shadow, those are not quite the same thing, but we all have these parts of ourselves that it's really easy to suppress during the day-to-day hustle and bustle and grind while we go about our tasks and other things that, you know, we have to do. But if we don't make time for that part of ourselves, she will get upset. She will get upset. So, over in nourishment, consumption, like what are we feeding ourselves? What is going into our system, our minds, our bodies, our hearts? We got 4 of Swords. So this to me just speaks to like, unplug, take a break. Take a break. Information is exhausting. You don't need any more information. You would be, what comes to mind is the Bruce Lee quote, I do not fear the man who kicks 1,000 times, I'm butchering it, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 1,000 times. And I say that because, like, it just speaks to, I'm going to get more mentally out of one book that I truly study and understand and discuss and write about and like reread than I am churning through like 20 books in a week. You cannot actually absorb or engage or experience that information in a meaningful way. And that's what we're doing, pardon me, all day with social media and the news cycle and the constant stimuli assault on our mental state that leads us. This is exhaustion. This is just exhaustion. And this is speaking to the need to look to what we are putting into ourselves. Like, that is having a massive effect on how you feel. And I know this is true. Like, there's few people that this is not true of, honestly. Probably. I'm speaking for myself, but I know I can always cut back, be more judicious about where I put my mental attention. It is a skill that needs to be refined constantly. So let's see what else is here for this. 9 of Swords. This is like total burnout. This is like please stop, because if you don't, this is total mental burnout is what this is. And it can be so hard to stop because we think that if we disengage, we're going to miss something important, and then we're going to be out of the loop, or we're going to miss something important that we were supposed to be responsible for, and so we're bad and we're going to get punished. We're going to you know what I'm saying. You don't need to be plugged in constantly. You don't need to be constantly this also isn't just like I'm not here to rag on social media. Like I Lord knows I love Instagram, okay? Like I do. But the amount of like stimuli that's coming at you, period. You know, this is what is mentally getting put on you. What are the demands that are getting put on you mentally? What are the demands that are getting put on your system? And again, I'm talking mental because these are both swords. The swords is the suit of the intellect, of the mind. This is what we're talking about, what we're thinking about, and this is coming up in consumption and nourishment. So this just speaks to a level of mental burnout that is not going to be fixed through more mental activity. More mental activity is not going to solve it. It's not gonna do it. So let's move on. I want to create a new category. I've only pulled 3 categories so far, so we're gonna keep going because I feel like we're still kind of figuring out there's a theme emerging, and I want to see like what the solution is, what the way forward for this week. Now we kind of know what the problem is. Like overstimulation, too much mental activity of a draining nature, not enough time with ourselves, and all that extra mental activity is cutting into meaningful self-relation time. And that's causing sort of feelings of stagnation, of tiredness, of just jankiness. So I'm pulling a card to start for play, recreation. Like what can we do? What is a positive focus? And not just positive like happy good feelings, but positive as in creative. Go ahead and pull. Okay. I went ahead and pulled 2. Father of Pentacles, also known as the King of Pentacles. Look at him. And the Sun. Here comes the Sun. So I love seeing the Sun come up. Right? As well as the Father of Pentacles. So this speaks to not talking about it, being about it. So for me, this speaks to what are the states of being, activities, physical activities that can really make me feel like I'm the man. Like I've got my shit on lockdown. I got everything under control. Everything's great. Because we got some powerful sun energy. So this just speaks, I think, to the power of like of getting shit done, baby. Especially within your physical surroundings. So I know instantly what this means for me. I have some physical shit in my apartment that I have to take care of. I have like just stuff I need to throw away, furniture to rearrange. It's spring clean. It's literally spring cleaning. Like it needs to happen as soon as possible. And I think that that type of creative, productive, physical engagement with my space is going to really serve me. It's going to generate this feeling of accomplishment and positivity and action that's going to help burn away that mental fog, that mental stagnation. This could also look like Pentacles is the realm of the body, so this is also making me think about how I can show up in my workouts in a really focused, really confident way. Whatever your movement practice is could be very anchoring, especially if it's done with a sense of levity and joy and excitement. We're not doing it like for it to be another prison, another chore, another constrictive, constraining, like, oh God, like no. It is here to serve us and help us. Structure is here to serve us and here to help us. I have a lot of Capricorn placements. If you know, you know. So I've been really leaning into where can I create the structures that are going to support me. Structures are supportive. They are not restrictive. Well, they can be either, but in this case, we're looking to make our structures, the structures of our actions and our physical environment, as supportive as possible. So we can harness this sun energy and we can move forward confidently. Too often when we feel like stagnant and shitty, we default to like, oh, what am I doing wrong? And then you start overthinking and trying to analyze a non-mental problem mentally. And it's not that you shouldn't think about things, but we use this one tool we have for something that is also creative, also emotional, also feeling oriented, also physical. All of these things, they're interrelated. So, but if we're always defaulting to mind, we have swords coming up in every category so far except for play. So, we know that like thoughts are not the tool, but they will, coming back to the devil and Six of Swords, when we address things in the non-intellectual realm, our thoughts will become clarified. When we address things within our hearts and our bodies that need to be addressed, and that's something that you do through feeling, spiritual feeling, emotional feeling, physical feeling, creative feeling, that is what creates clarity within your thoughts. You don't create clarity within your thoughts by thinking really hard about a problem and obsessing over it. It doesn't work that way. Believe me, I've tried. It's about deepening self-relationship in a creative, spiritual, feeling, sensate, embodied way. Embodied. That's what creates light. That is what is going to get us through this mind field, right? Okay, I think we're about there. Let me pull two more for a general sense of direction to sort of encapsulate everything that we've talked about so far. Seven of Swords. The Magician. I'm happy to see this guy coming up as sort of forward action. Because I haven't seen him much lately. So Seven of Swords and the Magician. One thing at a time. okay? Like when it comes to the challenges, the obstacles, the plans, the actions, there is only so much that you can focus on at one time. And in this particular case, I think Seven of Swords is showing us that there is a way forward here. Our thoughts are showing us something and are pointing us towards something. And but you can't, when you over focus on your mind, you're trying to like unearth and deal with things that are just buried too deep. And if you're just sitting there like digging around in the dirt trying to get these swords out, like it is just painful and not very productive. It's not very creative. It's not gonna serve you very well. Especially when we're talking about taking care of our whole self, which is what we're doing right now. Creative action is how we take care of ourselves. Getting really inspired, drumming up energy around that inspiration, and then giving that inspiration the container of specific actions that reinforce it, that create a feedback mechanism through which you can experience that joy, that triumph, whatever it is that you're trying to build. Coming back to Four of Wands, right? Combining a sense of victory here. Your actions are the feedback mechanism and proof of the state of being that you are conjuring and creating. The weight on the bar is the proof to me that I am strong and that I am improving in these ways that I want to improve. So the Magician is here to remind you that when you can get creatively inspired about something and give it a few specifics, it can radically shift things for you. And if you can adopt that identity a little bit of the Magician and of putting on a show for yourself, of being willing to take a little risk and razzle dazzle yourself a little bit, this could lead to some exciting things. This could be the alchemy that draws us out of this swords overloaded place. The Magician is here to show us the way forward, to get creative, to get weird, to get non-linear, to do things that inspire you and excite you. And again, speaking just to the practical, to the pragmatic, body tarot, baby. Can you look at all of your physical rituals as literal spells? Your shower is a cleansing ritual shower. Your meal is a magic concoction to give you superpowers. Your training is an invocation to your favorite deity or god or being to augment your natural superpowers. Like, I'm kind of being cute, but I'm also dead serious. Try it. The more like creative meaning you can invest in your basic actions, the more juiced you can get about them, the more each action creates this sense of momentum and power and victory. And that is what is going to get you here. That is gonna, I can pull another card. I'm going for it. Action. Brat, let's go. It's time. Let's go. One more. Let's go. We got to go somewhere weird. It's going to demand risk. It's going to demand vulnerability. One of my favorite quotes, I probably quote it all the time, I don't know, but he who does not learn to howl will never find his pack. And the moon speaks to not only like the subconscious and the unconscious and the deep waters of our deep self, but like that's what we're here to experience. And the more we're just like fucking around and like not taking the stakes of our own lives deeply sincerely, the more tortured we get. It sucks. When you don't take the magic of your own life to heart, it sucks. And you just get trapped and tortured and then you're like, why me? What's going on, man? And it's like, bitch, like you're the magician. You're making this up. You're deciding what your experience is. You have the power to change your lens, but you're going to need to go deep. You're probably going to need to go deep. But that's okay. You're up for it. Like, we want to. We feel like we don't sometimes. It feels risky and scary, but we want to go deep. And it happens through action, getting creative, doing it, making choices. All right, guys. What a read. I'm going to turn this around so you can just like take this in for a second. Woo! Sheesh. So look at that. Have an amazing week. Let me know how this landed for you. And let me know, drop a comment, like, subscribe, of course. Let me know what you're going to do this week. How are you going to incorporate some of this information, knowledge? Let's go. I'm going to finish this with one more thought. I'm going to be, my remaining workouts, I'm going to be really specific with myself about my creative, magical intention for them. And I'll let you know how that goes. We'll see next week. All right. Bye.